Hi guys, we are going to look at homeostasis and we are going to understand this topic under biology, and we are saying homeostasis is the maintenance of a constant internal environment. So when we talk about maintaining a constant internal environment, it means we are talking about homeostasis. And what do we mean by this term internal environment? So internal environment, it means the environment where the body cells are embedded, where they're staying. Because we have the external environment where the organism, let me say the one which is adjacent to the organism. Then the internal environment means the environment, the surrounding of the internal body cells. So by the process by which the body maintains this constant internal environment, it means doing what we call homeostasis. So homeo, it means the same, then stasis means state. So let's understand this. So what is there in the internal environment? So within the internal environment, we can have temperature, we can have sugar or glucose levels in blood, and we are trying to maintain them at a constant level or at a constant state. So let's look at the basic components of the homeostatic control system. So what is making up the homeostatic system? So we are saying we should have the receptor, or what we call the detector. So these two can be used synonymously. So the detector or the receptor, it means it's having things which you are calling receptors, which can respond to any deviation or physiological variable within the internal environment. So this is what we call the stimuli. So the detector should be able to receive stimuli or to detect the stimuli or any deviation from the normal set point. So if we say that the temperature should be 37, so any deviation from 37 degrees Celsius, it means it's going to be the stimuli which is going to be taken up by the receptor. So after the receptors respond, let me say detecting that there is any deviation from the normal set point, there it sends the signals to the control center, or what you call the regulator. So the regulator, for it will respond in accordance with the information from the detector, and it's going to send instructions to the effector. These effectors, what we should understand, they are organs, let me say they are target organs, which are supposed to carry out events which are going to correct the condition or the environment back to the normal set point. So let's use a real example. So let's assume we have the physiological variable, in this case when it is temperature. So if it is temperature, it means the thermoreceptors within the skin, those ones are acting as our receptors. They are going to receive that the body temperature is too high, and they are going to send the signals to the control center. The control center in this case is going to be the hypothalamus in the brain. So the hypothalamus, for it will send stimuli or it's going to send impulses to the effector organ, and that can be the skin or the jaw muscles. Thereby we shall have, let me say, shivering, we shall have jaw muscles contracting, so we shall have the hair follicles falling onto the skin surface. So we shall have very many changes, and all those are making up what we call the homeostatic system. So in brief, the components of the homeostatic system, we should have three of them. Should have the receptors, should have the control center, or what we call the regulator. We should have also the effectors. So let's look at the properties of an efficient homeostatic mechanism. So when you talk about efficient homeostatic mechanism, we are trying to mean the one which allows small changes in let me say little deviation from the normal set point. So for example, our normal set point temperature is 37 degrees Celsius. So it means there are some cases whereby we have an increase in the body temperature or a decrease in the body temperature. So A good homeostatic system, remember, though we are maintaining it at a constant state, but it cannot be stationary 100%. It has some changes, but the body is going to set in some resilience. So in this case, when the body temperature increases, so you shall have some sweating, or when it decreases, you shall have some shivering. So we don't want to over sweat, and we don't want to also to over shiver. So what happens is that the body temperature is maintained within small deviations. Let me say, any deviation from 37, any increase shall have sweating, thereby bringing back the body temperature to the normal set point, that is 37 degrees Celsius. So when it overdrops, you shall have shivering, as you can see here. So when we have shivering, so you shall have the body temperature return back to normal. So in brief, a good homeostatic system, it should have, should allow small deviation from the normal set point. So if it had deviations like this, as you can see like that, so this is not going to be an efficient homeostatic system. Reason being, it is allowing a very greater deviation from the normal set point, this line here, which is there. So now let's look at what we call the feedback mechanisms. So the feedback mechanisms, we are trying to mean the rope or the route taken by the system homeostatic component when it's trying to regulate or to maintain a constant body, a constant internal environment. So in this case, we are going to look at mainly two mechanisms, that is the negative feedback and the positive feedback, or the negative loop and the positive loop. So we are going to understand the meaning of these two words, negative and positive feedback. So negative feedback, we can try to give an example whereby the deviation from the normal set point is going to set into motion, or it's going to set events which are going to remove the deviation. So let me say, where we have instability, it's going to bring about stability. So let me say, negative feedback is the one which we have in greater percentage in our bodies. So let me say, we can give examples like control blood sugar levels and temperature and blood pH. How they are regulated, how they are maintained at a constant state or within the normal range, it is done by negative feedback. Let me say, most systems within our bodies are employing what we call the negative feedback mechanism, whereby where we have any deviation or what we call the instability, it's going to set in motion events which are going to bring back the situation back to the normal state, and that's what we are meaning by the negative feedback. So we are going to see and understand this when you look at examples like the control blood sugar levels. So we are going to understand that when the sugar levels increase, the body is going to respond by production of insulin hormone, and insulin hormone will set in motion events which are going to bring back the body or the blood sugar levels back to normal.